today. Also have more accidents than anyone else. On an average, in Suffolk County, there's 150 fatalities a year due to road accidents. A lot of that comes from distracted or drugged driving. Particularly drug drivers. And the DA is going to go into greater detail than I can because he has to prosecute these cases. And he has a serious responsibility that he takes upon himself and his staff to go after people that have created havoc on our roads and misery for those who've had accidents or fatalities as a result of the families involved. The recent statistics said that a third of the accidents that occur on the roadways in Suffolk County is a statistic. What can we do? Well, right now, as the DA will tell you, we're one of only 4 states with a list of drugs that you can actually charge someone for. And if someone doesn't wish to take a test, and you don't know what drug they're on, they can escape the responsibility and culpability of what they've done. That can't be. Distracted driving is the same thing. Put away the phones. Put away the phones as you're driving. I'm watching people driving because I'm on the road a lot. Looking at their phone. You look down 1 or 2 seconds. That could be the difference between driving safely and having a major accident. Not to pick on ladies, but driving by, someone's putting on lipstick and looking in the mirror as they're driving. That's distracted driving. A driver should focus all of their attention on the road because things move, particularly when you're on major highways. I know there's a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, but... And one of the things, if in an 18-month period, you have 3 distracted driving charges, the maximum fine now is $450. Really? You need levels that will deter people from doing distracted driving. You need laws that will allow us to charge all drug driving, whether it's on an approved list or not. Other states have got through this. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can do this, and we can walk away knowing, and I hope, and I'm very happy to see members of the state legislature, both parties here, we can get this to Albany. And let me tell you, this should not be part of any budget negotiations, because unfortunately in our budgets now in the state, don't deal just with the finances of the state, but deal with policy, which is really the wrong place for policies to be done. But I would hope that we would allow us to try anyone that's under any influence of any drug that's driving with a charge. And that's not the case now in this state. And that fails. So I could go on and talk, but we have a number of really good people here to speak about this. And I'm going to turn this over to our district attorney, who is charged with going after this. And then we're going to talk to some others, people that I know. People are holding up pictures, people are holding up signs, people who have suffered tremendous loss. And when you think about this, you know, sometimes our legislators in Albany, they lose sight of the meanings of the laws that they're passing. or the laws that they don't pass, the laws that should be passed. So someone doesn't go to a golf outing, people know exactly what I'm talking about, and have a number of drinks. And this is an old saying, and it's absolutely true. Friends don't let friends drive drunk or drugged, because accidents happen, particularly on our roadways. So we're here to ask for legislation to make our roadways safer, to prevent drugged and distracted driving. And you know what? There's things that you can do. If you have a distracted driver that's speeding along, and you have a number of charges, say 6 speeding charges in a year, 18 months, you can install in the car something that will prevent that driver from going more than 5 miles an hour above the speed limit. There are solutions out there, and there are other states that have taken the initiative to make their roads safer. And when we have 150 fatalities on our roads in Suffolk each and every year, and we lead the state for the last 23 years, it's time for us to step up to the plate and change what we're doing. Because whatever we're doing, and the message is we need Albany to step up with us. Whatever we're doing isn't working or keeping our drivers safe. And we have an absolute obligation to make our roads safer, which is why last week we announced we're adding 9 patrol officers to our highway patrol, and why I said come the summer we will add even more. But you know what? We could be helped. We could have a little help from our friends and colleagues in Albany. And I know sometimes getting things passed up there, not easy. But we have some of our state legislators here, they're capable, intelligent, dedicated people, and I know they come from Suffolk, and I hope there's people both in the majority and the minority that will support this legislation. So with that, the guy that's leading the charge, the guy that's our shield and sword, our district attorney.
Thank you, Ed, and I especially want to thank Ed for his support. I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank the police commissioner, Kevin Catalina, of Suffolk County Police, for their assistance. I want to thank our assistant district attorneys in our vehicular crimes unit. They're the folks standing to our right. They're very professional looking. So good job, guys. You know, yes, they look good. They look very prosecutorial. You know, this is a, you know, we joke, but this is a very, you know, serious, and quite frankly, it's getting old to have to constantly come up here and advocate for change when none is coming. So I'm particularly gratified that when I see Assemblyman Keith Brown joining the group, we're here. And these public officials from both parties who stand before us, they stand with us, and they want to be catalysts for change, not only in our county but in our state. So I want to thank them for advocating for our citizens and for safety on our roads. And I ask them, you know, talk to your friends, get more of our legislators on board with this common sense legislation. As the county executive was saying, too many people, far too many people, lose their lives on Suffolk roads. In 2023, we had 155 deaths, and as Ed said, we have the most registered drivers in the state. We have the most miles of highway, so we have the most deaths. That means we have the most to lose and the most to gain if we actually have fundamental change. Just this last week, my office indicted a man for allegedly stealing a car in Bayshore, driving drunk and then running down a pedestrian, Eric Perez, killing him. Again, the driver then left. He was apprehended by our Suffolk County Police. He's been indicted. Also, a drunk driver with a .21 BAC was recently sentenced to up to 15 years for killing his own passenger and injuring people in one of the other 6 cars that were hit last August in Brentwood. Again, the beat goes on and on and on, and we need to stop it, but we need the help of our legislators. Enough is enough. Drug driving is not the only law that needs to be fixed, all right? That's for sure. But we're gonna talk about drug driving today specifically, and we're going to ask that we stand with our governor and the governor's proposal, because it's very similar to ours. And if the governor stands with us, if the governor stands strong, we will stand with her, because enough is enough, all right? This is a common sense change, and it needs to be changed. The only thing that we're changing in the law is when it comes to drug driving, there is a list, right? And there is a list of drugs, and if the drug that you happen to be impaired by is on that list, if it's on that list, that public health law list, you can be charged with drug driving. If it's not on that list, can't be charged. That is a ridiculous law. That was a law that was enacted back in the time when our drugs consisted of drugs that only grew out of the ground. You had marijuana, you had heroin, you had cocaine. These were drugs that were all the same. Now we have designer drugs. We have drugs created in a lab. We have nitazines, we have xylazines, we have all sorts of zines, right? And every day a new drug comes out, and law enforcement can't possibly keep up, right? So why not just make it, if you are impaired by a dangerous drug that impairs your ability to drive, we can charge you. That's all we want. That's all we want. We're not trying to increase penalties. We're not trying to change the law. We're just trying to improve it. And we're not trying to treat drug driving different than drunk driving. What we want to do is we want to put if you drive while impaired by drugs, or if you drive while impaired by alcohol, there should be no difference. And we want our law to reflect that common sense approach. But since it's silly season in Albany, our opponents are spreading misinformation, and they're saying the opposite of just what I told you, that we are trying to criminalize all sorts of activity, that we are trying to add penalties. We're not. We're trying to fix the law. Again, the governor's proposal, very similar to our own proposal, and we ask that it be passed. These laws have nothing to do with, we're not trying to increase the penalties for driving while impaired by cannabis. The cannabis lobby is obsessed with making sure that we are not touching cannabis. Cannabis is legal in New York State. That's fine. That is a decision that was made in the state. We all abide by it. We're not anti-smoking marijuana. We're anti-smoking marijuana and driving while impaired by that marijuana, just in the same way that we're anti-driving while impaired by alcohol. No difference. It has to do about public safety and using these substances while operating a motor vehicle. That's it. The other thing is that what we're talking about is that what we want to do is we want to make sure that we hold people responsible. That we want to, there's another myth out there that with regard to prescription drugs, that this will allow us to now charge people while driving while impaired under the effects of prescription drugs. Well, guess what? We could already do that anyway. So this doesn't change that. The presence of any drug that impairs you should be enough for us to charge. Again, for safety reasons. And also, they're talking about these laws, changing these laws because we want to incarcerate more people. Well, guess what? If you're charged with driving while drugged, it's not bail eligible. So increased jail sentences or increased incarceration isn't even apply, because under our bail law, we can't ask for bail in these cases. We just want to make it an issue of safety. So what we want to do is we want to end the paralysis in Albany, and we're asking our legislators, we're asking our governors to stand with us, to stand with the people here, to stand with the citizens, most importantly, to stand with the victims' families, and to pass this law. Before I turn it over to our excellent police commissioner, I just want to talk a little bit about these victims and a little bit about the reason why I'm so sick and tired of having to come here and look at these people in the face and say, yes, we failed. We failed again. We tried, but we failed. Enough is enough. These people deserve their public officials coming to them and say, we listened to you, we heard you, and we fixed it. So please, allow us to, I'm begging the people in Albany to do that for us. I'm begging them to help us, to help keep our roads safe and to prevent tragedies like the one suffered by these great people. Thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it over to our police commissioner.
District Attorney Tierney, and thank you, County Executive Romaine, and all of our elected officials, but most importantly, our survivors and your families. Thank you for coming and shining a light on what really needs to be exposed. So, couldn't appreciate you guys more. When I took office a couple of months ago, I made roadway safety a priority in Suffolk County. We, as County Executive Romaine said, we significantly increased the size of our highway unit. I think everybody sees more of them out there on the road, and we are going to be increasing it again for the 100 deadliest days of the year. So you're going to see even more of them out there. We have a street takeover task force now that's out at night making sure people are obeying the rules of the road. So it's going to continue to be a priority, but they need help. They need the assistance of Albany to change the laws to allow them to charge people for drugged driving. Right now, our ability to do that is severely impacted by a broken system that needs to be fixed, quite frankly. So without that, the roads are going to continue to be dangerous. When marijuana was legalized, as the county executive said, hey, that's the law, that's the way it's got to go. But it does not mean that you can drive under the influence while you're impaired. And there has to be stronger legislation to prevent that from happening, and you have to make our ability to enforce that stronger. And as far as distracted driving goes, I think the county executive mentioned it, that has to be, the penalties for distracted driving have to be more strict. We can't have people convicted 3 and 4 times and getting a $400 or $500 fine. It should be equivalent to driving while impaired. It is just as dangerous. You pick up your phone and you're driving and you hurt somebody, that's not an accident. You made a choice. You made a choice to use your phone while you were operating your vehicle and you hurt somebody. That is a crime, and it needs to be treated as such. So the legislation not only needs to change on drug driving, I know that's what we're focusing on, but distracted driving as well, in order for us to make the roadways as safe as they can possibly be. So thank you again to the survivors and everyone else here.
Everyone, I'm Kevin McCarthy, the Design Officer of the County Legislature, and I just want to stand on behalf of my colleagues that are here in the legislature and those who couldn't be here and all levels of government in Suffolk County. We stand with these changes that need to be made. We stand with our district attorney, our county executive, and the police department to make sure that the governor hears us, and she does. We want the legislators in the state legislature to make sure that they enact these much common sense changes that need to be made. We stand here as one, along with the victims' families and the survivors, to say we need to do something. Over 150 people each year are dying on our roadways. I can tell you if 150 people a year dying in plane crashes or get shot on the street in Suffolk County, it would be an outrage. People should be outraged at the fact that we aren't doing enough here today, or our state legislature, the laws don't allow us to do what we want to do, to be able to make sure our streets are safe. We need to stand together, as we are here today, to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we keep our roadways safe, from either from drugs, alcohol, and distracted driving. So we're proud to stand here with everybody, let you know we have your back, and we will be with you. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Ray King.
Thank you, Kevin, and, you know, before I announce the victims' families, I just want to just touch on something that Kevin Catalina said about this street takeover task force. You know, that was something that when I came into office in 2022, I tried to do, and quite frankly, I was unsuccessful. But it took Ed Romaine and it took Kevin Catalina, Kevin's predecessor Rob Waring, working with them, and that task force is now, thanks to them, up and running and doing great work. And so I just want to thank them for that. So thank you very much.
In like 3-4 months.
Yeah, as the county executive said, over 3,000 tickets in just a couple of months. Again, with the aim not for revenue, but for public safety. So I want to talk about the victims, and we're going to give them the opportunity to speak. But before I talk about it, I just want to thank them. These are our stalwarts. These are when we need something, when we want people to advocate, not just for their families, but more importantly for all the families in Suffolk County. They always stand up. They always come and they take their pain and they direct it in the direction of how can we help, how can we ensure that no one has to endure what we have had to endure. And the fact that the fact that they're able to do that and they're willing to do that is very inspiring to us and to my team. So thank you all very much for that. Thank you so much. So I just want to announce them. We're going to hear from Dejanay Vanderveer, who's here. We're going to hear from Tim and Jennifer Carpenter, who are here on behalf of their son, Timothy Jr. Elisa and John McMorris are here on behalf of their son, Andrew, as well as Steve and Marietta McDermott, who are here on behalf of their son, Michael. So again, thank you all so much, and you honor, not only do you honor your families, but you honor us all by being here. So thank you very much.
He's coming. He's coming to take care of it.
Okay, good, because
Yeah, I know.
so I think we'd hear from Dejanay first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dejanay Vanderveer. Thank you guys for all standing, because I can't. And I can't because of an impaired driver did this to me. I'm wearing orange because it's MBT Awareness Month. Became an amputee thank you to Mr. Rosadaki, who was driving at 80 miles per hour on a single lane highway near Sargent's Parkway with about 3 times the alcohol limit in his blood system. He injured his passengers as well as myself. I'm here by the grace of God because there was a cop and his wife able to save my life. But that can't be said for a lot of people. There are a lot of people who unfortunately are not here today to be able to advocate for themselves, to make sure that this doesn't happen to other people. I thank God I'm able to do that, and I have the strength to do that, which is why you'll see me at every event until the laws that need to be in place are passed.
Hi, I'm Andrea Carpenter. This is my husband, Tim Carpenter. I'm not a public speaker, so I'm going to tell you about our son, Timothy. It happened on March 19, 2023, 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. The worst day of our lives, the day that we lost everything. I can still hear my husband yelling into the phone, "It's a car accident. It's Timothy. It's bad." And I just knew. My heart froze and I couldn't stop shaking. I begged God as I drove to the scene, please, please, please make him be okay. I will do anything if he's okay. He wasn't okay. Timothy Cameron Carpenter, our son, our pride and joy, the light of our lives. He had just turned 22 the month before. He was a senior at Stony Brook, a biology major, and Timothy wanted to be a high school biology teacher. He had so many things he still wanted to do, so many plans and so many dreams. And then, in an instant, he was gone. His life was cut short by somebody else's selfishness. My son, Timothy Carpenter, was murdered by a 40-year-old career drug addict who was high on fentanyl. While he was driving, high on fentanyl, he passed out. He was flying down Middle Country Road in Sunridge, a 40-mile-an-hour road, and he passed out at the wheel. The road curved, but he went straight, at full speed. He hit the first car and spun it around several times. Then he continued on to hit my brother-in-law's car. Timothy was a passenger, and he died instantly. Stacy Carpenter, my brother-in-law, had horrific injuries and is now permanently disabled. The driver, Christopher Guzman, was taken to the hospital and given Narcan to reverse the drug effects. He was fine, he just had a scratch on the head. People hear about tragic crashes like this one, and of course they feel absolutely horrible for the victims, for the family, but they don't really get it until it happens to them. Christopher Guzman was in several prior crashes. He was pulled over before, and he was given Narcan numerous times before he killed our son. I hold his family equally responsible for Timothy's death because they all knew what he was. They knew he was driving around impaired and that he's a menace. If Christopher Guzman had been arrested any of the times he was stopped, my son might still be alive. Timothy was killed just over 2 years ago. Since then, there have been so many more injuries and deaths from impaired driving. The roads are not safe. People are driving around while drunk, impaired by drugs all the time. You should worry about your kids, your family, because it could happen to them, or to you. It's an epidemic now. We are trying to pass the drug driving bill to prevent deaths from impaired driving. Right now, if a police officer pulls somebody over for drug driving, they need to name the specific drug that the person is on in order to arrest them. And that drug needs to be one of the drugs on a specific list in New York State. New York is one of only 4 states that still have this outdated law. This bill is in Kathy Hochul's budget that is yet to be passed. This is a nightmare that we will never wake up from. That day is seared into my brain. Going in the ambulance with my son to Stony Brook Hospital, my hospital where I work, seeing my son being wheeled into the trauma room and everyone rushing forward to help him, then slowly backing away because there was nothing to be done. Hearing the doctor tell me I'm sorry, but he had no pulse at the scene, and having to call my husband and tell him when I couldn't even see the buttons on the phone. And finally, sitting in the room with our dead child, our beautiful, smart, thoughtful, wonderful child. He looked perfect, just like he was sleeping. While we were mourning our only child and planning his funeral, Christopher Guzman was out on a ridiculously low bail. He was supposed to be in rehab, but he continued using drugs until he finally OD'd for good with nobody there to save him with the Narcan this time. We need to move on this. We need to get mad. People need to know that this stupid loophole is in the law. There is absolutely no reason to pass it. All of our lives depend on it. We don't want anyone else to suffer the way my family has suffered. Thank you.
It pains me every single time I stand up here because it has been 6.5 years since we lost our son, and it feels like we're standing still. Each day we wake up with a hole in our heart the shape and size of Andrew, and there are no words to describe the loss of a child. You are forever broken. I stand with the McDermotts and the Carpenters, and of course those in Dejanay who suffers daily, as we do, with the loss of something that was 100% preventable. Our son was killed by an impaired driver who, while hiking with his Boy Scout troop in front of his father and all of his friends, screams and deafening silence followed the car that inflicted immeasurable pain on children. Friends, families, and communities were shattered that day. That day we joined a club that all of us never want to be part of. I stand here today with so many other lives lost, and parents, husbands, wives, brothers, and sisters who desperately wish that these laws were corrected years ago. Innocent lives lost traumatically for something that's been 100% preventable. A crash. They're not accidents. These are choices, and they're crashes. The ache remains for so many. Time moves on, and we're just the headline for a week or so. But we grievers, time has no real meaning since the heartache remains and our lives attempt to grow around that emptiness. I left with a promise I made to Andrew on his deathbed. As he lay there in the ICU, blood-soaked, my tears wet his face as I kissed him, and my tears mixed with the blood and streamed down his face. And I made a promise to him that I would do everything I could to never let this happen to anyone else. We have decided to put our pain to purpose and parent Andrew's legacy along with all of the other victims so this doesn't happen. The drug driving bill is a good, honest change that is needed to save lives. This offers the drivers the best science available with roadside screening, toxicology, trained observations, because impaired is impaired. Physical effects affect your driving. You know this. We know this. We need to enforce it. We want all New Yorkers to be safe. This is a time for American heroes. What we do is hard. This is hard. Please give us the grace, look us in the eye, and say, we did it this time. We saved lives, because every life that we save is one less family that has to sit at a table with an empty chair. We come together in grief. We walk again, envisioning a world where this type of 100% preventable crime is no more. Legislators in Albany, hear me clearly. Do not get caught in the weeds and help us protect New Yorkers before something tragic happens to someone you love. From the roadways to the waterways, we must do better. From lowering the BAC to Nick's Law leaving the scene of a crash, from boating while intoxicated in honor of Breonna Lineck, from Andrew's Law making aggravated vehicular homicide a violent crime, since what happened to Andrew and all of our children was violent. These laws not only serve as a consequence, but it gives the user an opportunity to heal themselves and not risk everyone else's life in the meantime. The true measure of a person's strength is how they rise to master the moment. The work we do together as partners is limitless, and all it takes is a community with a common goal. And for my little boy, as I zipped up his body bag and I cradled his face as only a mother could, and I said, I will not rest until this is done. And we are here today to start that process. Thank you.
I just wanted to draw your attention to the McDermotts for a moment, because not everybody can speak about their pain. But I want you to know that they are part of this horrible club, and in particular with the Carpenters, because their son Michael was a Kings Park school teacher, father of 3 little boys, and he was out, coach, was out jogging one day, and he was also run down by a fentanyl impaired driver who took off and was caught about 25 miles away on the LA. So I just wanted to thank them publicly and make sure you understood about their son and about the man that he was. So thank you.
I want to thank the DA. I see our county controllers here. I want to thank him. I want to thank all of our county legislators. They've all been very supportive, and we will be looking to send a message to Albany, supporting our governor, and changes that she has said. We'd like to see more, but this is the first step. I want to thank Mothers Against Drunk Driving for their constant support. And I particularly want to thank our state legislators. I know Assemblyman Keith Brown, I think you have a drug driving bill. Where's Keith? He just left, I was going on. I know he has a bill pending that he's written. I want to thank all of our state legislators, Dean Murray, our Assemblywoman who are here, our Assemblymen, for their efforts. This is common sense. When did the state lose its way? When did we fail? Just examine some of the things that the legislature does and the impact it's to have on it, on the people that live in the state. This is common sense legislation. You're talking about drug driving and distracted driving. We need our roadways to be safer. Yes, we have the most lane mileage of any county in the state. Yes, we have more licensed drivers than any county in the state. Yes, we have more registered vehicles than any county in the state. You want to know that for the road transportation aid that we get. But yes, we do. But we do know that we need safer roads. And we can start by making sure that there's consequences for those who drive drugged or those who drive distracted and cause accidents, pain, loss, sorrow. And really, as the DA said, he was so effective. Imagine something else, some other thing. Pandemic even, killed 150 people a year. Think it would get our attention? We're here today to get the attention of those who make our laws in Albany. I pray common sense will prevail. Do you want to have the last word?
No, I think you said it all.
Questions, anyone?
Yes, questions.
No? All right, good, thank you. Anyone? Oh, you did? Oh, good.
Is there anyone who could speak about just the challenges of identifying drug drivers when an officer pulls somebody over? It's not necessarily a crash, but just, traffic stop and, what's
Commissioner.
Yeah, is that harder than alcohol where you can smell it, you can see somebody's eyes and stuff?
So we have a limited number of people who are what we call DREs, drug recognition experts. That training is intensive and takes many months to complete. Difficult training to actually put somebody through. The average cop on the street can suspect that somebody is under the influence of a drug, but they need to call in what's called one of those drug recognition experts to actually make that final determination. So it's a difficult process. Oftentimes people will drive under the influence of whatever drugs. If it's somebody that's regularly using fentanyl, they might not have obvious symptoms that they're impaired, but they still could be impaired. That's something that a drug recognition expert would be needed to actually determine. So, and it's not like alcohol where we can have somebody blow into a tube and it's going to determine what their blood alcohol level is. So it is more difficult, but these laws will certainly help us. And if we don't have to determine a specific drug and we just have to determine impairment, that will take away some of those difficulties from the average cop on the street.
There's one other question.
The last couple of executive budgets have had multiple bills to deal with certain things. Nick's law, Senator Murray's bill for one. Can the state legislators present speak to simply what the stated reasons are for why these types of bills just don't end up in the final budget?
I'll let our state senator, who has a better head than I do on Albany. I still look at Albany and kind of shake my head.
So, the county executive mentioned earlier about having bills like this in the budget, and he's right. We shouldn't have policy in the budget. Policy should be based on its own merit and should be taken on its own merit. Sometimes it works in our favor, sometimes it doesn't. This year, if it were to pass, it would work in our favor with this in the final budget. In 2019, it certainly didn't. You asked, when do we lose our way? I can tell you exactly when we lost our way, 2019. That's when we had bail reform, the discovery law changes, all of these pieces of legislation were rammed in the budget, and they do it for protection. It gives certain lawmakers cover. They can vote on a bad bill and say, well, I had to, because otherwise we would have shut down the state. We had to pass the budget. And that's how you get bad legislation. That's when we lost our way. That's when we became a pro-criminal state. But I want to be clear, you've got state lawmakers standing here today. We get it. We get it. And we are fighting. But you also have a Speaker of the Assembly who was quoted as saying, and he was talking about retail theft, but he was quoted as saying that he didn't believe that punishment was a deterrent for breaking the law.
Really?
Think about that.
Thank you.
Again, I'm New York State Assemblyman Mike Durso. I think, as Senator Murray said, also, what's been said to us this year is that they don't want to have policy in the budget. And as my good friend, Assemblyman Ed Ross said the other day, as we were passing our sixth extender, you broke the laws and you made the problems in the budget. Let's fix them in the budget. These are common sense laws that are going to protect Long Islanders, protect people of New York State, and they're complete common sense. There's really no reason not to get them done. Distracted driving is a problem. We had a number of, when you talk about distracted driving, you had a number of tow truck drivers recently that have been killed on the side of the road because people aren't paying attention while they're driving, right? You have drug driving and impaired driving issues all throughout New York State. Anybody driven on Southern State? Does anybody smell marijuana when you're driving? I know I do. And I know this, that when you're on marijuana, you're smoking marijuana, whether it's legal or not, alcohol's legal, but I know this, it impairs you while you're driving. And if we're not putting the laws in place to allow law enforcement to do their job, to take them off the roads and prosecute them, us as legislators need to do our job so that you can do yours. Plain and simple. We're even talking about boating laws. I have a bill that I'm working with Gina Leineck on in regards to if you get a BWI, you lose your driver's license. Why is that not a deterrent? I know I have a motorcycle license. If I get pulled over driving my motorcycle and I'm impaired, I lose my driver's license. I also have a CDL, so does Legislator McCaffrey. We're subject to 3 times the law. Again, if I get a drunk driving ticket, it's 3 times the amount that you would get if you don't have a CDL. Again, these are common sense pieces of legislation that we could do right here, starting this year, starting in the budget, or after the budget's over. It's about keeping New Yorkers safe, plain and simple. That's it.
Good morning, I'm Assemblywoman Rebecca Cassay, and so honored to stand here with families and fight with families, alongside families, join my fellow legislators in Albany, because we all do agree on this. This should not be a partisan issue. As a freshman legislator, this is something that I'm diving right into to understand how do we move these pieces of legislation forward, because they should have moved forward already, and every day is too long to not have them moving forward. I continue to reach out to our colleagues at the county, to law enforcement. We've had many meetings discussing these laws and others to be sure that I'm up there in the room in Albany fighting for our families, fighting for public safety, and fighting for common sense legislation. So I'm very proud to have the privilege to do that and look forward to continue working with all of our colleagues at all levels of government to be sure that we are protecting ours here at home and honoring those who we were too late to protect. So thank you everyone for being here, and look forward to continuing to work together.
Thank you all. Let's hope we can precipitate some change, because change is needed.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Nobody move, please. Everyone stay where you are.